Welcome to Chapter 11 of Sports Business Management, generating revenue through profit centers. All right, so what are your profit centers? Well, it just depends. So there's some that are pretty common. Personal training, you may have a smoothie bar. You pay for certain classes in some, sometimes you've got the not free group X because it comes with the membership, so you're paying for it through your membership. But sometimes you have those. Sometimes you have special event classes that you can take that you pay for, like a Pilates class, so on and so forth. So what are the profit centers? And again, how do you want to align this into your overall revenue, and whether you want to or not too? That's the other thing we've talked about, maybe creating different gyms. The conversation we had in the last chapter was about, like if you look at a lot of the CrossFit gyms, they really rely on one profit center, because the personal training comes with the fact that you buy your membership, you go to the classes, there's your training. Sometimes they may have some excess training if you're trying to do some competition training and things of that nature. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's just built in. And so, but the prices for those gyms usually carry a heavier weight, but you get more in the package. So it depends on how you want to do things out. So, you've got one option, you have lower gym membership fees, you have more a la carte things such as, buying personal training or paying for certain classes or certain special events, or, if they have you've got a pro shop of some sort, like if you have sports training there. Like I worked at a place that was a big tennis facility, and they had a tennis pro shop. Um, you could have a smoothie bar, you could have a supplement store, clothing merch, any of those things, right? And so those are all potential profit centers. Now, again, depending on your clientele, which are, the vision of what you have, the clientele that you bring in, so on and so forth, is going to determine that. Oh yeah, and mentioning that the nice place that I worked at, they also had a cafe. You go in and buy like lunch and dinner, and they had a grill and they're cooking and things of that sort. So, again, it was a very high-end clientele in Weston, Florida. So they have all these extras, all these a la carte, so to speak, things. It really depends on what you're going for. And so looking at this, if you're going to have excess profit centers, there's a certain amount of money it costs to have the profit centers. So you think of like merchandise. You've got to pay for the merchandise, and have it out to do that. Now, again, nowadays you can do online, right? So you could have like a contract with somebody that prints and makes things, and you could do it where they just go online and buy it there. If you're going to have it in store, that's different. You could have your own line of supplements. Again, you could have it where supplements are made more on demand through another company, maybe a little less money there, but if you want things there in store for people to grab on their way out, yeah, again, if you have a smoothie bar, that's going to be, you got to have the ingredients, you got to have the staff running it, so on and so forth, up and operational at times of operation. Personal trainers, there's different ways that companies do that. Sometimes they pay them, for their time while they're there, whether they're training or not, plus additional when they're training. They get some of the money back from the packages of the training. Some places the trainers are basically free and hanging out until their clients come in, or they're out on the floor still sitting trying to get clients while not being paid. So there's different ways that that's structured as well. But you got to structure in a way that makes sense for the size of your gym, the amount of revenue you've got coming in off the memberships, which you can float without the profit centers making profit yet, and kind of make it make sense for you. Again, you know, there's certain equipment. So like say your smoothie bar also does coffee and stuff in the morning. Are you going to have like, you know, a barista that makes, you know, all kinds of different drinks? So you've got to have the, you know, you've got to have the machine where you can do the foofy lattes and cappuccinos and things like that. You know, that can cost several thousands of dollars for a good machine. If you're going to have Pilates classes and you're going to have the Pilates reformers machines and things like that, and you're going to make them pay extra for that, you've got to figure in your cost for those, figure in the cost for, you know, you'll have, you know, a lot of times those are going to take up a room, or they're going to take up a portion of an exercise room, you know. So if you have a room just dedicated to that, you know, that's lost space and lost usable square footage that you could be doing other things in. So these are all things to keep in mind when creating excess profit centers. Again, are you going to have those profit centers open to just members, or are you going to open them up to everybody? If you're going to open them up to everybody, members are going to be a little upset if they pay the same prices on things, right? So again, you know, are you going to have member pricing versus just walk-in pricing for things? You know, and adding that all in together. And so again, you know, the best thing that you're going to do is look at industry metrics, decide, you know, look at other companies that are running those same type of profit centers, you know, kind of under the same demands or volumes that you're looking at doing. What are they pricing things at? Again, where are they located? If they're located near you, you know, pricing them pretty similar would be a good idea. Again, you can decide whether you want to undercut or oversell based on if you think you have, you know, like same, you know, if you basically selling the same stuff, but you want to discount it to, you know, try to entice more people to come there versus someplace else, you know, you can go that route. If you feel like you have a much better product and you can sell it for a higher demand, and that, you know, the product is that much better that people will come pay a higher price for those things, and, you know, that's another thing that you got to figure out as well. Again, getting the right people into some of these profit centers is going to be key. So personal trainers, I mean, you know, look, I'm gonna dog on LA Fitness for a minute. LA Fitness is kind of where people go when they don't have a personal training career. You know, you go, you get some experience because they don't pay you worth anything because you're, you know, you don't have experience. So they take non-experienced folks. They don't pay you anything. Doesn't mean they're not getting some good trainers for a while. Sometimes they get some excellent trainers in there, but sometimes they get some real dogs. And so when you go to LA Fitness, you know, a lot of folks know, like, you don't know if you're getting a good trainer or not. You know, yeah, they're certified. Yeah, you know, I mean, you got to look past that as a consumer and be like, okay, do they have a degree? You know, what certification do they have? And again, most of them are going to have little to no experience, because once they get some experience, they realize that they should be making, you know, 5 times, 6 times the amount of money they're going to make at LA Fitness. So they're going to bug out, right? Um, so yeah, that's what you get there. So if you're trying to have a gym that's known for having high quality trainers, you're gonna have to pay them. And you know, you're gonna have to look at what the market value of trainers with that type of education and training goes for, and you're gonna have to offer them that or slightly higher if you're trying to lure them away from what they're doing now or what they were doing previously. Again, you know, these are things that you got to figure out. You know, are you going to have other folks selling the training, or the trainer's going to sell themselves? You know, that's some things that you got to think about. And again, it's, you know, I've had this conversation with you students in here, and just, you know, with Zoom. So, you know, as well, just talking like I am now. Staffing in general, you know, not just the trainers, but, you know, having good staff at your other profit centers. So if you have a cafe or you have a pro shop, you have, you know, any place where selling's being done, they need to know what they're selling, and you need to have highly trained or educated folks in the area that they're doing things. Again, some people think, oh, smoothie bars not. Well, if your smoothie bars, like a lot of them at the places they add different supplements in and things like that. You need to be able to answer, you know, somebody's gonna be like, okay, well, why would I add protein, or why would I add B vitamins to a supplement? Why would I, you know, what's the benefit? Why do you have all these different things? Why would I want creatine in my supplement? Oh, this one, why does this have this amount of caffeine in it? You know, you need to be able to answer that. And so you need some folks that are educated on that, and they can explain the benefits of B vitamins, the benefits of caffeine, the benefits of creatine, the benefits of protein. Why are those things in there? You know, why does this one have, you know, like if you have like an athlete, recovery drink may have a lot of protein and carbs versus a recovery drink for just a normal gym goer. You may have one called the athlete special. One is just, you know, Bob's after workout special. Well, why does the Bob's one have lower calories, not as much, you know, especially not as many carbohydrates, no sugars, things like that are very low, maybe low fat, versus an athlete who may have a lot of carbs, especially in, you know, like types of sugars, and high, and maybe even higher amounts of protein. Why? Okay, well, you need to be able to explain that, right? And the reason I'm saying that particular thing is that's really, you know, if you're going to sell shake to an athlete, those are components that are really important to their post recovery, right? Those are all things to consider. Again, when you're looking at accrediting certifications, there's a few that stand out above all the rest, and then there's all the rest. So let's talk about the main ones. You have the ACSM, which sets all the guidelines in our industry. If you're now again, when it comes to personal training, their personal training cert's not near as popular necessarily as it used to be. It's still a good cert. They're still very scientific. It's a tough cert to pass. I respect anybody that has it. So, you know, it's one of those ones when I see that, I'm like, okay, this is a serious person. They took the ACSM. The next one would be NSCA. I actually hold that one a bit higher than the ACSM when it comes to passing, especially if they do their CSCS, because one, you had to have a bachelor's to take it, and two, has one of the higher failure rates out of the certification bodies. So I like that one. After that, NASM kind of starts my grouping of popular, but not what it used to be. So again, NASM is getting a bit easier for people to pass. They're starting to set their own sort of agendas when it comes to the functional movement trends that we have. And again, don't get me wrong with functional movements. I think it's important. I just got some issues with the functional assessments and really the validity of what they assess. When you guys take exercise leadership 2 class or any of the other ones that we use, ACE and NASM books, you will hear my spiel, and we will go through a demonstration on why that those are not all they're cracked up to be. After that, ACE, again, ACE is definitely on the downhill trend of value when it comes to a personal training cert. And then we've got a bunch of other ones on down. There's one that's interesting just because it was born out of the University of Miami down here, which is NCSF. It actually, the content in it's fine. I have no problem with the content in their stuff that they teach. Good cert. One of the things is that it does compete with the NSCA when it comes to the CSCS. And I think the NSCA is going to sort of, with the things that they're doing with having schools become accredited through them in the next 10 years, it's going to create an issue because most strength and conditioning jobs across the nation require you to sit for that particular exam. And so if you go to a college that teaches out of the NCSF materials, and they are not NSCA certified, that is going to become a problem. And so again, going to universities that are accredited through the NSCA, if you want those NSCA jobs that are very exclusive to the NSCA, you're going to have to go that route. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the NCSF as that deadline approaches. Again, if you have group exercise, AFA is kind of is one that you almost have to have, and then you usually will have specializations after that. Like if you teach spin or you teach a cardio kickbox, or if you get into Les Mills, you'll have to have their certifications for each class they do. And I would think Peloton probably has some type of thing with them as well if you're going to teach their stuff. The ISSA is one that started to pick up, but I haven't seen much on them in years. Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them listed in this book, but you know, a lot of them are trying to make ground that they never did. ISSA was pretty popular for a while. It was kind of known around the industry as the bodybuilder certificate, because it's an easy exam to pass. A lot of folks that got into bodybuilding and want to get into training was, you know, and they didn't have the exercise science degrees and things like that, would usually go for that. I haven't seen much of it lately, so I don't know if it's still around. I'm guessing it's still around. I just don't know how many places really know about it and accept it. Again, you can do things like specialty group training. You know, and again, you could do it in club or out of club. There's a lot of clubs that will put on, you know, like around here in Miami area, some clubs may have their trainers go out, and so you go, you know, you're a member at the club, you can buy into some of their specialized boot camp classes that they go do outside at parks or on the beach and things like that. You know, and they may have like a member's price and a non-member's price. Again, the trainers may sell the actual stuff out at the park, and so they'll give the non-members that don't come by it in-house certain prices, things like that. Again, there's going to be equipment that's going to be involved. It's got to be, you got to transport for things like that, you know, so on and so forth. Again, you got to think about if you have a smoothie bar, restaurant, or anything like that, you've got to have licenses to serve foods, and you got to keep up, you know, certificates of, you know, health codes and so on and so forth, above and beyond that of a gym. You know, and that's got to be all put in there. Spa services, you know, if you have things such as massage, or they have on here like facials and things. I've actually, the really fancy place in Weston I was at, they actually had a salon in there where you could get your hair done as well. You know, and those are all going to cost, you know, I mean, and again, they're usually very pricey to create, maintain, and have the folks in there that work. But usually that's passed on to the members, right? And again, you know, not every gym is meant to have a spa, right? No, you know, 24 hours ain't going to have a place where you go get your hair cut, right? And you know, they go through a lot of this in the spa with body aromas and skincare therapy. I'm not going to get into all that. You know, again, some gyms now are merging with physical therapy, right? And so again, there's, you know, if you're going to have physical therapy areas and physical therapists in there, they've got to have things up to certain codes. Again, the nice thing with doing that, you know, it's really can be very cost effective in the fact that they're taking on patients, you know, and they're running things through their health insurances and stuff like that. It can be a really good marriage to have physical therapy or create a physical therapy space for physical therapists within your gyms, because again, it's a great way to create a possible solution of having new members coming in. You know, you get somebody goes through physical therapy, they need to continue on in their strength training and things like that, and so they're, you know, they're like, hey, you know, the personal trainer over there in that area, he's great, she's great, You know, you may want to, and again, you may offer certain discounts for folks coming out of the physical therapy to get memberships and go work. You know, I mean, it's a good idea. Again, it's not mentioned in the book, but I have seen that a little more in the past like 10, 20 years, emerging more and more and more. And again, it really makes sense. You know, I mean, fitness is really an extension of healthcare in many regards. Prevention and therapeutic post rehab is extra tertiary care. You know, the more that you can get into the healthcare side of things, it's a good idea. Marketing, I'm not going to get into the marketing again, but you know, just social media. I mean, you know, making sure businesses around where you're at know you're there, maybe offer them discounts, you know. So again, community relations, social media, you know, being part of the active community in your area as well, you know, helping sponsor races, or I mean, those are all things that we don't need to rehash again. You know, some organizations, like if you have spas and things like that, they're going to have professional associations you got to be a part of. You know, those are all things, you know, if you're gonna have Les Mills, you know, as the way that you do your group exercise classes, you got to pay a membership for that. Those are all things to think about with your profit centers. Okay. Maintenance of the profit centers, you know, maintaining equipment, maintaining, you know, maintaining certifications, you know, paying for licenses and so on and so forth year after year, and all that needs to be considered. Child care can be a profit center. It can be an added on, you know, for family, or, you know, you can build it into memberships as well. You know, like for everybody, you're build it into just those that have family memberships. Again, they've got to be certified. You got to have certified folks looking over those things. Those things have to be checked and everything, and there's got to be maintained as well. Again, it's a great profit center because there's so many folks with kids that want to go work out and they need a place for their kids to be. Security, you know, again, security in different areas of the facility, one thing, but security in the childcare area is huge, right? You know, we don't want anybody coming in there and grabbing the wrong kids, so to speak, and we don't want kids being able to escape from the area either, and getting lost, right? Talked about pro shops, you know, again, design of your gym, design of any of the profit centers, you know, is going to be instrumental. Like you don't want it to look like an afterthought. Oh yeah, we could do this. Where are we going to put it? We kind of got some open space over there. Let's go for it. You know, if you're building a gym from scratch, or, you know, or you're renovating space and things like that, in an existing building, you know, decide on profit centers prior and create space, you know, even if they're not going to start up initially, create the space, create the intentional space of where they're going to be. So even if that's somewhat of a blank space, you know, maybe fill it with some things, you know, again, make it look like a nice area before it becomes like a cafe or a smoothie bar or an area where you go buy supplements or a pro shop or whatever that may be. Okay. And again, you may have to have managers over different areas. And so, you know, it increases the amount of managers that you have, and them having to have staff and things like that. And so different, you know, you may have some wage workers, some salary and all that, you know, some folks maybe have insurance. And so these are all considerations with the profit centers. They will cost you more, but they can also make you more if they're well run. That's all I got for this one. If you guys have any questions, we'll go over them when we go over the chapter. Thanks.